Okay, it is 5 p.m. Thank you all so much for joining us. We have folks trickling in as we speak, so we're going to give it a couple more minutes, if you don't mind, before we start officially. Thanks again, everybody, for being here, and I look forward to a great meeting. Okay, for those who have just joined us, we are just getting ready to start. We're going to wait a minute or two longer for a few more to join us. Thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening, Marina. I hear your voice. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thanks for the invite.
Okay, our attendees are rapidly increasing. I'm gonna ask your patience for just another minute or two. I want to start with everybody being able to participate. Thank you so much. Okay, I see that North Richmond MAC member Annie King Meredith has joined us. Annie, can you hear me?
Yes, and good afternoon, everybody. Well, it's evening. Good afternoon. Thank you. Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Good afternoon.
Hello.
Okay.
Hello, Annie.
Hi. Hi.
Thank you so much for being here.
Okay.
And so with that, as soon as you're ready, Annie, I suggest we begin the meeting. Please take it away at your convenience.
Oh, okay. So I am chair. Oh my God. Okay.
Indeed you are.
Okay. I'm sorry. I did print out the minute. I mean, not the minutes, but the meeting. Oh my goodness. I wish I had known that. I would have been more prepared. I'm usually prepared. If I don't see my agenda, I apologize to everybody. I did print it out. And
It's
where-
okay, Annie. Annie,
Yeah.
could I act as your wingman and
Yes,
Perfect.
please do. Yes, please do until I find my agenda.
sure, no worries. So we
Okay.
will start with call to order, roll call.
Okay. I have to apologize to everybody. I wish I had known that. I misplaced.
No
my
problem.
agenda.
I'll take it
You
away.
take it all the
I'll-
way until I find everything, okay?
Thank you, Annie. Our roll call is Annie King Meredith is present. And
Yes.
Chair Gilmore, Lily Ronima, Princess Robinson, Bev Scott, and Dr. Henry Clark are unable to be with us this evening. But thanks so much for those of you joining us. And now we will open it up. We cannot do approval of agenda or minutes because of the lack of quorum. If that's okay, we can still proceed. And next up will be public comment. If anyone has public comment, please indicate so. And Chair King Meredith will give you the floor.
Yes. So we have David Alvarado, and that is our president for the wastewater district.
He was the past
Oh, God.
president.
I can't hear him.
Me either. I can't hear him either.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I'm no longer the president, but I'm still a director of the West County Wastewater.
Okay.
The
Okay.
president is Cheryl Suddick. But thank you.
Okay. Are there any more public comments at this time?
Wait a minute.
I cannot find my agenda.
Let's back it up. Did David have anything to say?
No, I'm good. Thank you.
Okay.
I'm just here to listen and participate. Thank you.
Okay, well, this is Cynthia. I'll do a public comment. I just want to announce that one of our workers at the senior citizen building, Linda Davis, her mom passed Easter Sunday.
Yes.
And everybody knows about the vaccination clinic at North Richmond Church tomorrow. And Roxanne sent me an email say, man, like as of yesterday, they had 200 slots to fill. So I don't look like it's going very well.
Right.
Wish it was a drop-in, change over to drop-in.
Okay.
Let me also add to Cynthia's comment. I know there was a lot of the ambassadors, the county ambassadors that were out there. So hopefully that number has picked up quite a bit, because I know that they were out there this afternoon all day, basically setting things up. So let's keep our fingers crossed. Because that's a lot of dosage not being taken advantage of.
Well, good evening, Madam Brown. I'm so sorry. With this, unfortunately, I can't find my agenda. And Robert, if you can take over, I don't know what happened to my agenda, and I cannot lead a meeting without the agenda at this
Well, can
point.
Robert do a shared screen and maybe he could just post the agenda?
You know, I don't know where it's at. I mean, you know,
No,
this is
maybe
ridiculous.
Robert can do it.
That's what I would like for him to do, because I can't find it. I had everything printed out and I can't find it. And normally I'm on top of things, and of all days, you would all have me to chair, and I don't have it. So with that, Robert, can you hear me?
Yes, happy to do it. Thanks so much. It looks
Okay.
like there's no more public comment. Thank you. Our next will be a presentation by the Shields Read Report. I believe that's Stephanie.
Yes, that's
Hello.
Marina.
Oh, me? Right.
Oh, Miss Eleanor.
Oh. Hi.
Oh.
Stephanie and I, please give your
Oh,
presentation.
Stephanie.
Okay, can you hear me? Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So hi everybody, my name is Stephanie Nye with the City of Richmond Community Services Department, Love Your Block program. And back in October, we hosted about 7 community workshops, design workshops on the redesign of Shields Reed Park. Many people here participated in it. And we are pleased to let you know that we submitted our application for the redesign of Shields Reed Park a few weeks ago in March. We applied for $8 million worth of improvements at the park. And, you know, fingers crossed that we're going to get it. We'll find out either late in the summertime or early in the fall. But we really think that there was a lot of community input. It was very interactive, a lot of good ideas that came straight from the community. And we really hope that we're going to get this funding for the park. And with that being said, we created a video about kind of highlighting some of the input that you guys gave us in October, and we wanted to share that with you guys today. I wanted to thank Robert for giving me a lot of the footage for it, and also North Richmond MAC. We did include some of the footage from those meetings in our video as well. And I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen and play the video. It's about 5 minutes long. I haven't shared a video on Zoom before, so hopefully this works. So, is it not showing up?
Not yet.
Your screen was sharing, but the video didn't play.
Let me reopen the video. Oh, here we go. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. Hopefully the sound works as well. Okay.
The audio is not coming through.
You can't hear any music?
No, we can't hear it, but we can see it.
How about
The way
now?
we're building community assets in North Richmond is by getting community feedback. That's
Yes, thank
where
you.
we learn
Yes, we can hear.
what it is the community needs in a park like Shields Reed.
So, if you get a bike pump track in this park, which one would you like and why?
I picked number 2 because you can go everywhere, but number 1 I can fall down.
Oh, okay.
I'll do the exact same thing because it's probably you're going like this. You're almost gonna fall.
Okay.
And like the number 2 doesn't have like those kind of stuff things. It just goes flat.
Okay. So you like number 2 because it feels like it's safer, feel like it's easier to do, you won't fall?
Yeah.
Have you guys seen these before?
Oh, I seen the market thing in there.
You've
Yeah,
seen
I
them?
saw it before.
All right. You guys like them?
Yeah.
What do you like about it?
I was like, no, none of the stores have like any of those kind of colorful things.
Oh, you can add some like art on the benches representing cultures, like different cultures on the benches.
Okay.
Or something like that, like to make people feel welcome
Okay.
to the park.
We need a big enough stage that we use for our music festival. You know, we use the big stage. So in other words, we need a adequate stage to hold a band. Plus, like out here in Oakley, they just put up a little amphitheater, but I'm not looking for the seating because we normally bring our lawn chairs, but cover over the stage to block out the sun. That could be built in.
I have a question,
Yes.
a suggestion. You know how on McDonald, where they have, that's near Kaiser, where they have community folks as it relates to health or what have you, and they, you know, some of it is just black and white photos.
Mm-hmm.
Is that possible? We could do that near the stage as it relates to honoring the legacy of the different musicians that have come through and played in North Richmond, because you know at one time this was the stomping ground for the blues.
This is DeGina Burks, and hi. That option that I prefer is option number 2, because it is the only option that offers a stage and performance area. Considering the North Richmond Music Festival has been there for the last 10 years, and the only reason it wasn't there this year was because of the COVID-19. There are other events that happen out there that are music related, and I would like to see that stay as a place where people could come.
I prefer the comments that Ms. Regina Burks and Cynthia made about the stage. I support that particular scenario, because not only do we have the North Richmond Music Festival there every year, you know that we have the 4th of July event usually there, and Earth Day, many events there.
This is beautiful. This is a beautiful design. It's got everything that you could ever want for young folk, seniors, and everybody else.
Okay, that was the video. Thank you for letting me share.
You're welcome.
Thanks so much for that report. Next up is Healthy Richmond.
Robert, I have a question right quick. Should law enforcement be coming before other agencies?
Yes, I'm glad that you brought that up. Thank you, Cynthia.
You're welcome.
Does anyone have any questions for Stephanie off the last report?
I wanted to ask Stephanie, did she say that there were going to be some development to Shields Reed, or did that development, or I know they was doing some development, so did all that already take place? Or is there?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So the video I just showed you were from all the community input sessions that we did. And we just, last month, we submitted the application for $8 million of improvements at the park. So it's not guaranteed. It's not, we'll find out by probably the end of summertime, early fall, whether we receive the funding. And then after that, we would conduct further community input sessions to, further refine the design of the park, and then construct, renovate the park.
Okay, thank you. I am the liaison or the commissioner for that part. And that's why I wanted to ask you. I know they was doing some development. So what it is you all are submitting for some funds to do more development. Thank you. That's what I needed to know.
This is Cynthia, is it okay?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, well, Eleanor asked, was there some development? I'm not one to answer that question, but I would just like to let Eleanor know that we did get the skylight at the park cleaned. So that was a big achievement, something it hasn't been cleaned in God knows when. And that was a big achievement.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
It was. Thank you very much, Cynthia, and thanks for the great question, Eleanor. And Stephanie, please feel free to reach out to Eleanor in the future about the park. She's another important partner. And just to wrap it up, that presentation, as Stephanie said, was really about getting community input about how to get and spend resources on that park to make it better for all. So a lot of work goes into that. A lot of people were involved, and thank you all so much for doing that. With that, I apologize to law enforcement. You should have gone before reports. So with that, that was my fault. With that, why don't we begin with our partners at the City of Richmond, Lieutenant Mullenberg.
Hi, good evening, everyone. So March was another slow month for the city, which is a good thing. We did see a little uptick in residential burglaries in the beat or in the central district, along with strong arm robberies. And that was up by 29% or 7 to 9. We did have one murder in the district, and we kind of touched on that early last meeting. That was the one at the AMPM at 22nd and Barrett. So we do have 2 arrest warrants from that investigation. So as I said before, I can't give out too much information, but we have two suspects identified and have warrants for their arrest. Typically auto theft is about the same. We're down 4%, and the remainder of our crime stats look pretty good. Unless you folks have any questions for me, that is all I have.
I have a question. This is Marina Brown.
Yes, ma'am.
With Shields Reed Neighborhood Council. I wanted to ask about the sideshows in North Richmond, and that's in the unincorporated as well as the city of Richmond. The sideshows have been just enormous. And I mean, it's all through the night. And sometimes it begins as early as maybe 7 o'clock in the evening.
Yeah, it's just not our local area, but the Bay Area as well. I just got an email this morning for something that happened over the weekend where the city had put in all new markings for crosswalks and other delineators in the road. And on Easter evening, about 100 cars went out and just tore that whole intersection up. So there were some questions from Dane Rogers from the city about what we can do about that. It's very challenging to deal with. Sometimes by the time we get there, it's gone. Or when we do get there, they have the intersections around that area blocked off where law enforcement can't even get there. But we do have, like, if it shows up in Richmond first, we notify the CHP, Oakland, and other agencies, hey, we got this in our city, it's probably coming your way. In my opinion, with how dangerous it is, the fines aren't as severe as I think they should. If we do get a car stop, they get issued a citation for reckless driving, and we can impound their car up to hold up to 30 days. But as far as being able to pursue or take action, because we're outnumbered sometimes 50 to 1. So we do respond to all those calls, but sometimes we get there a little bit too late, or it might give the appearance from the public that we aren't doing enough. And we have an officer that's been off on injury leave for coming up on 2 years because he was hit by a car, ran over by a car at a sideshow trying to take enforcement action. So it does help that people call. We got a lot of calls on this last call to get us going that way.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Lieutenant.
You bet you guys.
Are there any more questions for Richmond PD? Okay.
Hi. Hello.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes. My question is, my name is Berta Alvarez, and I would like to know if the Richmond Police patrols the site that is for the homeless at Castro Street. I have seen many cars there that looks like new, so I don't think those belongs to the homeless.
Yes, we're aware of, you're referring to North Castro and 7th Street. We do patrols. We do monitor the parking area over there. That is a kind of a sanctioned parking area for unsheltered people. So some of those cars have returned stolen. We address those issues as they come, but we don't over enforce that area because it kind of is like a sanctuary area.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Lieutenant. With that, let's move on to Contra Costa County Sheriffs.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Sergeant Root with the Sheriff's Office. It's my first time here with you tonight, so bear with me. I'll go over our stats for March. And after I go over that, if you guys have questions, feel free to ask. Select crimes are basically over the 3-month period, they're averaged about the same. They haven't really risen or fallen. And the select crimes are anything from like assault with a deadly weapon to vandalism. And as of those select crimes, there's only 19 of them over the past 3 months. Over the month of March, however, the Sheriff's Office did respond to a total of 243 calls for service throughout the North Richmond area. And that's everything from like a 911 hang-up call to parking violations, drug complaints, traffic complaints, if it's something that we need to go to, outside assists for either Richmond PD or the Sheriff's Office. But as in a whole, I haven't seen really the North Richmond area, the calls for service going up. The violent crimes out there are down over my experience of being out here. It's more of those types of crimes are spread out through the other parts of the West County area that we patrol. That's about all I have for our stats. I mean, if you guys have any questions about certain types of crimes, if they're in the stats, I can answer that for you. If there's any other questions or concerns that I can address, I'd be more than willing to answer your questions.
Thank you so much for your report, Sergeant Root. Let's get some questions. Cynthia Jordan?
Sergeant Root, good evening. You say you're reporting for 3 months?
The select crimes is a 3-month average. Is the report that I have.
Okay, good enough. And so what about the 243 calls? That's select?
Those are all the calls in general over the month of March. Like it's everything that we've responded to in the North Richmond area for the Sheriff's Office.
Good enough. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Anybody else?
I have a question.
Sure.
My name's Hector. I live in North Richmond. So I've called a couple times for dispatch.
Yes.
Because there's been a lot of problems on First Street with illegal parking.
Okay.
And cars blocking the street. Every time I call the dispatch, they tell me to refer to Highway Patrol, that you guys are not responsible for those type of calls.
I'll be honest with you, I don't know why you would be told that, because we do have our CSOs and our student workers that do go out there for the parking violations. And if it is a violation where they're actually blocking the streets, yes, we would respond to that, because it's a thoroughfare and they shouldn't be blocking the roadway.
Okay, thank you. And then are you guys patrolling the streets more than average, or how's your numbers since COVID started? Because I don't
we are
that often.
Now that the COVID numbers have fallen, the deputies are increasing the patrols out there. We are short with one resident deputy, and I'm not sure if that spot's going to be filled or not. You'd have to speak to the lieutenant about that one. As far as the deputies that are assigned to patrol, usually every day, every shift is filled. So we do have our staffing numbers that are filled for the shifts. And I do know I was just out in North Richmond about an hour and a half ago on helping out a deputy with a detail. And I do know that the Paul unit, our North Richmond deputy that's out there, he is very active right now. He's out there. He's addressing the concerns with the drug issue that's going on. And I do know that our student workers and our CSOs have been out there actively tagging cars and looking to tow cars that are either abandoned, severely expired, or the stolen cars that unfortunately do get dumped out there.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
With that, let me say, Hector, if you have situations with illegally parked cars, you can email me those complaints and I can facilitate them over to Sergeant Root or someone else at the sheriff's office also.
Thank you. Can you put your email address on the chat?
Yes, I can. Thank you, Hector.
Thank you.
I got a question.
Sure.
Hi, this is Lynetta Cooper. Ward, I'm not sure the one that just finished talking. Do you cover Terror Hills area?
Yes, we do. Well, part of it. The other part is covered by Pinole, so it would depend on where it's at.
Okay, Hilltop Commons.
Yes, that is part of the sheriff's office jurisdiction.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay. Sergeant Root, thank you so much for your report, and thanks community for the great questions. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, let's move on to Healthy Richmond Team Leader Report. Okay, Healthy Richmond is not here. I will now begin my report. Hello, Robert Rogers, County Supervisor John Joya's office. The big news is the vaccinations have been expanded. Now, everyone in Contra Costa County who lives, works, or plays in our communities over age 16 is eligible for a free vaccination. We are one of the earliest adopters in terms of counties nationwide, and we're proud of that. We have more than 500,000 people in Contra Costa vaccinated, and more than 98% of people over 75. We also are at a point where less than 3% of those being tested are testing positive. Thanks to everybody working together, we definitely have COVID on the run in Contra Costa. Now it's time to finish the job. Let's get vaccinated. You can go to the CCHS, the county health website, or you can call the hotline anytime to begin your vaccination process. We hope that you will. Again, it's open to everyone over age 16. And please, as community leaders, all of us, let's spread the word. If you need more information about that, feel free to email me. My email's in the chat, and I'll get you linked right up. That'll conclude my report. Are there any questions? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to to CHDC Director Don Gilmore. Don is not here. Next would be CHDC's Felisa Orozco. Felisa, are you here? No, she is not. Reach Fellowship International. Reach Fellowship International?
Yes, Robert, I'm gonna make the report for Reach Fellowship. Again, I apologize to you all. This is one of these times, I don't know what happened to the agenda. But anyway, I have a report from Bishop Edwin Santiago from Reach that she would like for me to report that the month of May, the first week before Mother's Day, that they will be delivering 100 food bags throughout the community, and that the bags will be filled with Cornish hens or chickens, dry beans and rice, and vegetables. And they're gonna do that the month of May, starting the first week before Mother's Day, and will follow into the next month, into June. So she would just like for me to have that reported out at the MAC, and also a shout out from Dr. Santiago to social, oh God, for Miss Eleanor Thompson and her group. They did a fantastic job cleaning up next door to her, and she just wanted me to give a shout out and to let her know she appreciates the work that has been done, and so do we. I had that call to Robert about that properties next door to her, and she said that you all, your group, did a fantastic job. And she said, thank you so very much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, and that's the end of my report. And Robert, take it on. Okay,
Thank you so much for that great report on behalf of on behalf of Reach Fellowship. Thank you, Annie. Also, next will be Urban Tilth on the farm update. Okay, Urban Tilth is not here. Now let's move into our official presentations and proclamations. Our first presentation is going to be by Eleanor Thompson of Social Progress, Inc. Eleanor,
Hi.
you have the floor.
Do you have my email I sent you to, if you could put my program up? Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it. Somebody has it.
So thank you, Eleanor. I had some technical difficulties, and Stephanie Nye is going to be going along with you with your program. Thank you, Stephanie, for your support.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Okay, this is Social Progress, Inc. And Annie, when she was speaking of the property that we cleaned up, at the time I cleaned it up, Dr. San Diego came out and we talked for a minute, and I didn't know that there was her women's program there, but the house is beautiful. From looking at it from the outside, it's very beautiful and very well kept. And she thanked us for cleaning up for the community. And so I thought about the house, and I liked the house and I liked the area. And I know that we at the phase of now where they're going to do something with the houses some type of way. And that house I would really like to have. Plus, it's in a community where there's people, there's children, there's families. So Social Progress, Inc., state-of-the-art, one-stop youth resource center. This is prepared by myself. And this picture that you're looking at is that we want to do a feeding program in the morning for children who are on their way to school and might want to get something to eat. Can you move it for me? Oh, thank you. And our mission is state-of-the-art, one-stop youth resource center to empower and prepare youth in North Richmond and surrounding communities with training, support to become leaders. State-of-the-art one-stop youth resource center is to be created to improve the lives of our youth in North Richmond and surrounding communities. We will offer programs that will address personal wellness and independence. We will address our homeless youth situation in North Richmond and surrounding communities. We know that we have youth who are in high school and college who are homeless and struggling to make it through school without a safe place to live. And that's what we want to offer, a safe place to some of our youth who are in school and high school. Thank you. Thank you. The main objectives include to teach youth skills that will promote a healthy lifestyle to become healthy and independent. Life skills training that teach skills to our youth. We will provide scholarships to graduating youth, which we have provided some scholarships throughout the years. Homeless youth program, temporary housing, provide skills that will give them the tools for successful living, computer training, and we have a diploma program, which we are doing right now with a grant from the City of Richmond. Penn Foster Online High School diploma program. We will offer access to notary. We have notaries on our staff, printing and copying services in the community. They'll be able to come in and print copies and also get notary, which would be a small fee for the notary service. food giveaway and clothes giveaway once a week. Music studio will also be part of our program, and that will be by Carl Mason studio. He's putting a studio in the building, which hopefully we're going to be able to secure. Fitness room and exercise class. And then we talked about the breakfast for the school-age children served a.m. before school. Thank you. Amen. These are just some of the programs that will be offered in our state-of-the-art one-stop youth resource center. Much more is to come. Property located at Silver and Fred Jackson Way, state-of-the-art one-stop youth resource center, duplex property at 317 and 325 Silver, Fred Jackson Way. And that's just the sign above it, the stop sign there, Fred Jackson and Silver. And that's the building, that's part of it. And you can see the cleanup. It took us days to get that property clean. And that's the total building there. That's the back area where we would like to, it's really large back there. And we wanted to make a small garden where the youth can learn how to grow their own food. And so thank you very much. And we're Social Progress Inc. We hoping that we'll be able to secure that property there. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eleanor, for that great presentation. And thank you,
You're welcome.
Stephanie. Thank you, Stephanie, for supporting with the slides.
Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you so much.
Does anyone have any questions or feedback for Eleanor?
Yes, I would, if I may, Robert, I would like to really thank Eleanor for her presentation from Social Inc. And I just have a few questions about your endeavor for looking at to secure this property on Silver. First of all, I see that the breakfast program that you are looking at, and the breakfast program, from my understanding, that it's a breakfast program at Birdie School in the morning that starts from 7:45 to 8:15, and I'm pretty sure that is still going on, and that's at Birdie School. In order to, and the reason why it was in place to make sure that the children would be on time to school.
Right.
That's one concern. The other thing that I was looking at, that's great programs and services that you have in place. And I was just wondering, as far as the service plan that you have, and looking at the part for having, I guess, a educational training piece for individuals is phenomenal. That's great. You know, it's not a duplication. And since the close of the program that I had in the community, you have added quite a bit that would be very useful for the community. Okay. And I thought that was, that was good, very good. But my just biggest concern is the breakfast piece that will be, that would be interfering with the Birdie School breakfast piece, and that the location of the duplex is so small, and its capacity to have the children to come in, and how many you'll be able to get in, and so forth. If that's something that you've all thought about.
Okay, thank you, Annie, for that. I knew that there had been programs at school that were doing the feeding, but I didn't know if it still was going on because I hadn't heard anything about it lately. But no, we don't have to have the program if there's already a program feeding going on. I just didn't know. I hadn't heard anything lately about it, but I knew that it was started at one time. Thank you for letting me know about that.
Right. And that's supported through the school district to have breakfast to feed individuals in the morning. That's something that's been in place for quite some time with individual children coming to school to feed them. You know, so
Okay.
they don't go to the classroom hungry. But I think it's wonderful. It's a fantastic plan.
Thank you.
This is Cynthia. Okay, I understand what you're saying, Annie, about the breakfast program at Birdie's, but I think Eleanor is like focusing on like more or less children in high school and middle school, I think would be her goal, it seems. When she says youth, as youth up in the upper grades.
Well,
not
Birdie
so
hopes,
much the
I'm
lower
sorry,
grades.
Birdie goes to 8th grade. Birdie
I know
goes
it
to
goes to 8th grade, but I think Eleanor is focusing on when she mentioned high school and this and that, and I think she's focusing on upper grades, like high school.
Oh.
18 and but anyone can come in, the youth can come in to utilize the center, but for our program, it's mainly 18 and over.
Oh, thank you for the correction. Very good.
Okay. Thank you, Cynthia.
You're welcome. And I think it's a fantastic idea. Seems like to me like it would be a hub for the older children to drop into, and a lot of people, you know, since COVID, a lot of people do have access to laptops and things like that, but a lot of people don't know how to work them. But resources is very much needed in North Richmond. Yeah, a resource center similar to what you're speaking of.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And by when did this program will start?
It will start, we're waiting to see if we will be awarded one of the buildings to do the program. I know that they said only 2 buildings, I believe, would be designated for programs in North Richmond in that area. And maybe some will be donated, I mean, not donated, but access over in the multiple housing area where they're going to build multiple houses according to the director of Housing Authority, that there may be another area where maybe 1 or 2 houses would be available. But we're waiting to see if that house will be awarded to us so that we can do the program.
Thanks.
So Eleanor, just to get the location straight, because I know at one point you were looking at the
that's 2nd Street, 2nd and 5th.
2nd
and 5th Street. And then I looked at the other one on Fred Jackson Way, Market, but because Dr. Clark was looking at that property also for a museum, I just thought I would maybe try to find another location that was just as nice as that location.
So you're speaking of that project house on Silver across from where Miss Irene stayed at?
It's right there. It's on Silver and Fred Jackson Way, right on Silver and 3rd Street. You know where Dr. San Diego program is? It's right next, like in front of it. It's in front of her program. And it's right off Silver and, I mean, it's on Silver and off Fred Jackson Way. It's on 3rd Street, 317 and 325 3rd Street.
Okay, I got you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
It's right behind the old original neighborhood house. It's right next to it.
It's next door, right, to the Masonic Temple. Yeah.
No.
Yes, that's where it's at.
The neighborhood house. The old
neighborhood house is down further, I think. Oh, the
no,
old neighborhood
you're right
house?
between. It's right across from Miss Irene's house. But
Right,
you're right,
that's the
the
original.
duplex that you weren't talking
it's
about.
not-
Yeah.
That's not where it's at.
That's not?
No, it's on 3rd and Silver. It's right off Fred Jackson Way.
Oh, I thought it was right across from. Okay, thank you.
Oh, no, it's down further. Thank you, Rob.
They all look alike.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, well, we got the address. We'll figure it out.
Yes.
Okay, thanks again for that presentation. Are there any
You're
more
welcome. Thank you.
Okay, hearing no more questions, let's move on to the next presentation. And that's from Christina Navarro of the County Service Integration Team. Christina? Okay, Christina is not with us. Let's move on to John Steer and Sadie Wilson on the Community Climate Resiliency District Feasibility Assessment. John Steer?
Yes, indeed. Let me put my video on here too.
Thanks so much.
You bet. So I'm here actually I'm John Steer, Watershed Planner for the County Watershed Program. I've been here before to speak to you on the two topics, the Green Infrastructure Plan and the North Richmond Watershed Connections Project, which, as you know, is a urban greening and GI project for North Richmond. And it is also one for placemaking. And I bring that up not only because I've been here before, but because this relates to this subject that you'll be hearing about today, the Green Benefits District, also known now as a Community Climate Resiliency District for the county. And why this is important is because in both the Green Infrastructure Plan that I presented to you back about 2 years ago, we had proposed as part of the way of financing the long-term ongoing maintenance for it would be through potentially a Green Benefits District, which you'll be hearing about today, and I will be seeking your input on it. And also because the idea of a Green Benefits District was mentioned in the Home Team's North Richmond Resiliency Plan. It was taken up actually by Sadie Wilson, who will be speaking to you about this. She looked at that and said, this is something I'd like to research further. And so this actually also, when she reached out to us to say, I'd like to do a study of this, we said, absolutely, because we need a feasibility study done of this potential really valuable innovative means to provide for both capital financing and O&M financing for GI and other things. So this is taken up by the Department of Conservation and Development too, who, as you know, are doing the general plan update. So this idea, the Green Benefits District, is now not only part of the Green Infrastructure Plan for the county, but is also going to be part of the Climate Action Plan for the county, which is also why the name changed from Green Benefits District to a Community Climate Resiliency District. I'm not going to say anything about it right now. That's for Sadie to speak to. But what I will say about her is that she's a master's student at Cal, UC Berkeley. She has her degree also from environmental studies from UC Santa Cruz. She's been a graduate. She is currently a resiliency fellow with the Greenbelt Alliance, and she has she was a researcher with the Turner Center for Housing Innovation. So really has good bona fides for this work that she's undertaking on behalf of the county. And we're really blessed to have her doing her master's professional report for us on this very important topic that is really essential for long-term protection and improvements of both green infrastructure, urban greening, and other features that are being established through not only the North Richmond Watershed Connections Project, but through other means.
Thank you for that intro, John. That was very generous. And I'm wondering if I have the screen sharing power. Is that something I can do? I guess.
Yes, I believe.
I guess so. So thank you so much for having me. As John mentioned, this concept is something that I took on, and I took on the idea of a green benefits district and tried to make it fill a lot of the gaps that I was seeing in climate adaptation. And so as I go through my presentation today, it's definitely an evolving topic. And so please always jump in if there's a term that I'm using that's confusing, or if you have a question about something. And then I hope we have time at the end for a nice discussion. I know I'm the end of the night here, so I'll try not to take too much time. I will jump right into it. I will provide a little bit of background. I know John did some of that, so I'll just touch on some things. And then some problem framing, how I'm really understanding, a special district and how I'm understanding the problem and designing approaches to that problem. And then taking a closer look at special districts, that's kind of the core of my study. And, you know, a little bit more about the study that I've been working on and how it can be a tool for your community and other unincorporated communities in the county. So really to jump in, I'll use the term C2RD, but it's, you know, can be interchanged with Community Climate Resilience District, but that's kind of a mouthful. So the C2RD is really approached as not just another district, but really a new way to understand climate adaptation, community empowerment, and restorative justice, and put that into a tool for the community to be at the helm of. And so I will just touch on a little bit of background. This has been an evolving process from a green benefits district to kind of more than that. So green benefits district plus, and into what my study is really focused on, which is looking at a range of options for a special district or an entity that can operate at a community scale to meet some of the needs of the community in climate adaptation. So it'll be kind of a menu option of what are the trade-offs, what are the different things we need to think about when we're designing a district, and if we want to go forward with this. And so I'll limit the about me, but really I hope that after my presentation, I'll get feedback from you, and that's really why I'm here, is to introduce this concept and the work that I've been doing, and really ask, you know, what needs to be in here, how does this fit into, you know, the work that's already being done in North Richmond. There's so much, you know, great momentum and you know, great nonprofits and community activists working in this space, and so how does this fit in with that, and how can this really you know, be a tool? So now I'm really jumping into it. So turning into the really the fundamentals, you know, why we need new governance tools is something that I've done a lot of, you know, academic research on and thought about a lot in terms of climate adaptation and climate change. And so here are some kind of summarized points of, you know, what are the driving force behind this study and really where I'm coming from. So first, we are already seeing the effects of climate change in our communities. Flooding, wildfires, extreme heat, pandemics, water quality, and we know that these impacts are going to worsen in upcoming years. We also know that the impacts of climate change are spatially unequal, meaning that action must be taken at the local level, since the needs of North Richmond are far different than the needs of Bay Point or Pittsburgh. So these differences in vulnerability are a product of geographic features like, you know, low-lying areas and flood access, but also an outcome of socioeconomic factors that make some communities especially vulnerable to climate change impacts. And so in turning to action, experts have agreed upon much of the technical data forecasting what types of changes we might see, like in ART reports by BCDC and MTC reports. But really, there's an issue with community scale governance and financing tools to allow that local action to happen. And this is especially true for unincorporated communities and other resource constrained areas. So on that note, it's important to acknowledge that planning projects and infrastructure investments have historically been enacted through top-down methods that can sometimes be tone deaf to local needs. And this is especially true when considering climate vulnerabilities that are multifaceted and intersectional, and often best understood by the community members themselves. So this C2RD approach calls for a redistribution of power to local leaders as a way to effectively prioritize adaptation investments, while also facilitating equitable climate adaptation. And so finally, the C2RD concept, as I'll go into more, centers on the special district as a tool for change. And so unincorporated communities like Bay Point or North Richmond could decide to form a district that meets their needs. So why a special district? I've really interested in how special districts can be a tool in this space, but there are some pros and cons. And so some of the pros, first, how am I defining a special district? It's a, legal form of government that's typically created to address a specific set of needs that are unique to a certain geographic area. And so you might see this on your, tax bill, a mosquito abatement district or a library district. And so there's, that's typically how most people know of special districts. It's kind of, they're behind the scenes a lot. When thinking about special districts as a tool for equitable climate adaptation, which is a far departure from how they are typically used, mostly to fund infrastructure improvements and deliver services efficiently. There are a couple features that are really interesting to me. So first, the scale is appropriate for facilitating local action. And as a legal form of government, special districts typically have more power and authority than any singular nonprofit, which means they can make decisions about projects, raise money, fund ongoing services and maintenance, which are all common barriers to resilience improvements, like street trees and things like that too. And finally, the governance structure and engagement practices of special districts can be designed to make them a tool that's really embedded in the local community. And so this isn't a feature of the typical special district, but it has the flexibility to be able to have power embedded in the community through, special ways and how you adopt the law, basically. So these legal district types that I've described are formed through enabling legislation or special act. So I'm calling these formal districts. And these will make up the majority of options for district establishment. But it's also, as I mentioned, these formal districts have some downsides. So formation, scrolled through those. Formation often requires significant technical and economic resources. So it can be difficult to get set up. And small districts may find it challenging to comply with public meeting laws like the Brown Act. And funding can be difficult and at times regressive. So really in weighing these pros and cons, I thought that there needed to be other options. So my study will include some informal arrangements that approximate some of the formal districts. So it has some benefits in, legitimacy and power and funding, but maybe, it doesn't have all of those, the same exact package. And so in laying out these many options, it'll ultimately be up to the community to decide which pathway is right for them. So I hope I haven't lost anyone there. I know it's very conceptual at this point, but really this effort is an approach to provide the community and the county with tools and information about how to move forward. And this is an issue that I think requires immediate attention. First steps and a phased approach. And so that's part of what's baked into the evaluation of these district options, along with the understanding that there is no one size fits all. And for a place like North Richmond that has a lot of capable nonprofit players and stakeholders, you may decide that you're ready to jump into a district formation and it's, you have everything set up and this study will have a pathway for that option. But in communities with less momentum already and less organizing, it could be useful to have some interim steps. And so that's kind of the idea behind this. And so these are some of the options I'll be evaluating in my study, which include both the special district alone, along with some case studies, which I think are really useful to kind of tell the story of how these can be used. And so now that you have a bit of background about how I'm speaking about formal and informal special districts. I want to kind of go back to the community climate resilience district idea. And so, as you've probably picked up on by now, this concept refers to no one district, but instead, this idea of the goals that unify this concept, and a true departure from how special districts have been used in the past. And so that's what I'm referring to, is no one district, but really this approach to using districts as a way to kind of solve some of these problems and fill this gap. And so this, I think, is the real heart of it. These driving goals and essential functions are how I've been evaluating all of these district options. So do they check the box? How do they meet these goals? And so this is really the backbone of this work for me. So the first goal is to funnel money into unincorporated low resource communities while eliminating administrative barriers. So in essence, this goal is about leveraging complementary funding sources by diversifying the types of funding coming in. So as opposed to a CFD or a district that relies solely on special taxes and assessments from the district's residents, the C2RD will instead bring in funding from beyond the community. And this is especially important when considering grant funds and federal and state funds that may be available for projects like this, especially with this new infrastructure bill at the federal level. So that money is coming, and it's important that communities can take advantage of that. Since in many cases, these types of funding sources are restricted if there's inadequate matching ability or a lack of organizational capacity, or if the project doesn't have an organization willing to take responsibility for ongoing maintenance years down the line. So creating a district can be a way to ensure that those aren't limiting factors in receiving funds. And so that's really a driving force behind this work, and something that came up in the Richmond Watershed's Connections project that John mentioned. So the next goal is to provide a mechanism for community scale governance. And this is really fundamental for two main reasons. First, as I mentioned, climate impacts are locally specific and therefore need governance options to match. But also, communities that have been historically excluded from planning processes and have been planned for rather than planned with need to be put first in the just transition process. And the only way that can happen is to really share the power and make space for communities to lead. And so, this really puts community self-determination as the key to equitable climate action. And a way to do that is to formalize the role of the community in directing that action, not on a project by project basis, but on an ongoing basis. And so this is really, this is not just about climate action, but about, equitable planning and equitable processes to support that. And finally, the C2RD concept aims to address not only physical vulnerabilities, but social and economic vulnerabilities as well. These things make it, together make it harder to adapt and overcome climate challenges. So I won't get too much into this diagram, but this kind of shows in a different way these core functions. So now to kind of get you brainstorming about what could be, how this could be applied. Here are some recent projects: the Richmond Watershed Connections project, which is currently underway, and a partnership between the county and the Watershed project and Urban Tilth to add street trees, rain gutters, mobility improvements. So this is a great project that has been years in the making and a product of a lot of hard work and collaboration between these players. And they had to piece together different grant sources, and it was administratively complex to get all those things all in one place. And now the Watershed project has agreed to maintain the street trees and till maturity, but there's still not a known funding source for who maintains that after that time. So really that's where this idea comes in of how can projects really last? How can these green improvements really benefit the community over the long term if there's no entity to see that through? And so this can be applied also to, Richmond's watershed needs assessment, which outlines great, localized flooding, sea level rise, recreation improvements that can really be taken, a C2RD could really take the lead on that to help move implementation forward. And so hopefully these just kind of get you thinking about what's missing here, what else is needed to make your community more resilient and more prepared for the future. So I'm coming to the end. I know I've been talking a lot, throwing a lot at you. But in terms of governance, which is a key part of this idea, each district type comes with different parameters relating to governance. But in evaluating those different options, it's really important to understand who needs a seat at the table. And so this is, one of the places I really want to hear from you about, who should be involved in creating this district. If it's something that you want to be created as a tool for your community, who should be on the board of directors, if there were a board of directors, which is a typical way to govern a special district, and what types of practices are important to ensure that this district is held responsible by the community, while also being able to work effectively with existing bodies like the MAC or the county. So I'm gonna leave it there, and I'm gonna post my my email as well. I'm wrapping up my part of the study in early summer, and I really hope to disseminate that to everyone interested. So the MACs, I'll send it around, and the county. But here's my email too. I really, any thoughts that come up, if you want to talk more about it, I would welcome that. So I will leave it there.
Excellent presentation, Sadie. Thank you. And I just, before we turn it over, I just want to underscore the importance of Sadie's points that this really is a potential tool, really innovative tool for bringing decision-making down to the local level, which, as you know, is not the case in our unincorporated communities. And especially when it comes to climate change, this is going to be important to have financial tools for improving the environment in the midst of climate change is going to be really valuable. And that's why this is a really good undertaking that we hope to implement here in the county. It will be part of the climate action plan, will be part of, part of the climate action plan, and it'll be certainly a way of implementing the green infrastructure plan for the county. So I really want to invite people to submit their comments about the governance, especially.
Yep. Thank you so much for that presentation, Sadie and John as well. Much appreciated. There's a lot there. How about some questions and feedback for them? Who'd like to go first?
Robert. Oh, I'm sorry. Robert. Oh, I see Cynthia's hand up too.
Why don't we go ahead and go with Annie King Meredith and then Cynthia Jordan?
Okay. All right. I would like to thank you for the Sadie for the presentation. It was very, I thought it was very thorough that you had to present to us, and I have a few questions that I just need clarification on from listening to your presentation. One that you mentioned of the funding that is coming down the pipeline. What type of funding are we looking at?
Yeah, so I was referring to, the federal infrastructure bill that was passed. I don't have all the details, but it was preliminarily passed at the federal level, and it earmarks funds for, I think they say vulnerable communities, which they haven't really decided what that means yet, but also for climate climate related infrastructure. And so a lot of, so it's a big push for communities to plan ahead of time and get things ready. So if that money it'll take a while to trickle down the system. It's kind of one of those things that the actual funding doesn't really get into, the pockets where you can kind of apply for it for months and maybe years. But it's something to plan for because that money should be coming in a couple waves and be available.
Okay, the amount of the monies, what are we looking at? About how much are we looking at to be disseminated through the communities? Do you know the amount?
Actually, that's premature. We don't really know.
You don't know?
No.
Okay, because it was mentioned, so this is why I asked. The other thing for the government and the board of, you're looking at for a board of directors to begin with this being looking at the different districts. What would be, I see that you have looking at board of directors, and when would that be put in place, or what are you're looking at, because you're only going to be here a short amount of time. Are you just going to spearhead it for the community to start up, to be a part of, or what is that plan?
Yeah, thanks for that question. So for my last slide, I kind of finished with this board of directors, which the first step in following up after I kind of finished my study, which just lays the groundwork of what are the options. It's really up to communities individually, to decide what option would be best for them. And some of them are headed by a board of directors. And so part of my study will be, what does that board look like for these different district options? Some have stipulations that the board members have to be landowners, or some have stipulations that they have to be, represented, they have to, the projects have to fairly, include the needs have to be allocated. I'm not saying that the right way, but there's different rules based on the state legislation for some districts. So the board, who's on the board of directors, is a down the line process, but it's important to think about early because some district options are restrictive and may not allow the people that you think are really important to represent you be on the board of directors. And so this is part of the early on process of saying, okay, who needs to be there and how can you make sure that the district setup will allow that voice to be heard. And so that's really why I was soliciting that advice, because it's really early on in the process, but it's kind of one of those path dependencies where once you kind of decide, you may be limited in some ways.
Yeah, this is actually where we're really hoping that the MAC can give us some input, to give Sadie some input, because the governance structure for let's say, for example, at North Richmond Community Climate Resiliency District would be fairly diverse. And indeed, I think there is a case where diversity is going to be a major strength, because we're looking at, like with North Richmond, you've got landowners who are north of Wildcat Creek in the industrial area, who are going to be relatively well off. And by the way, this whole district has to be voted on by the voters. I mean, voted on by property owners. That's the idea of a special district of any kind. So it has to have a 2/3 vote. It has to be broadly popular. So we even talked about having, those who are north of Wildcat Creek, if they would be completely within the district as far as providing higher level of funds, for like a tax lien, and those who are in the residential area would be supplemented by, say, the North Richmond Mitigation Fund or Chevron Fund, that sort of thing. In other words, they would have supplemental funds coming in from existing grant sources to help fund that, because they're not as well off. So that's where the governance structure should both apply to those who are working in North Richmond as nonprofits and owners of residential areas and owners of the industrial and commercial areas.
So a mixed build up. Okay.
And just to clarify, I think John was referring to kind of one option that's really gotten a lot of, gained momentum around the Green Benefits District option for North Richmond. That would require a vote, and some districts do and require a vote, and some districts do not. So just wanted to make sure that that was clear, that there's a lot of different paths to forming a district, and some will require a lot of community will behind it to make sure that that passes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Cynthia Jordan, did you have a question or feedback?
Yes. Sadie, thank you for your presentation. And what I have is that I want to make sure is when I read your proposed program that I'm up on everything. So what does O&M mean? What does that abbreviate?
Yeah, I shouldn't have used that abbreviation. Operations and maintenance. So, thinking of urban greening or street trees, kind of, who's gonna trim them, who's gonna water them, and who's gonna maintain that kind of green infrastructure is typically.
Okay, so what does the unincorporated DAC? I know it's community something.
Yeah, you've caught my hidden acronyms. So that is disadvantaged communities. So that's I mean that's the state language around how they've allocated AB 32 funding, which is another pot of funding that is available, and that's generally how I've looked at unincorporated communities. It's generally not looking at those unincorporated communities in the hills, but more in on the coast.
Right. Okay, that's all. I wasn't sure what that meant.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, feedback from others?
To governance.
Okay, as we're waiting, some folks might be thinking of some. I'll jump in with one. As you know, Sadie and John, there are projections that with sea level rise in the coming years and decades, there could be some intrusion into North Richmond, and the resilience of our shoreline is very important. The West County Wastewater District and many other landowners in that area in the Northwest on the shoreline are talking about a levee coalition to come together to be able to gather funding for better shoreline resilience to combat sea level rise and climate change over time and protect and support North Richmond. Are you aware of that work? Have you made any linkages with them? And how, if at all, could that factor into the work that you're proposing?
I'll let John jump in if he has more current knowledge of this, but my understanding is kind of that levee project is really going forward by the waste. I'm really bad with names.
West County Wastewater.
By the West County waste people, and not really a community-driven process. And this study has kind of shied away from looking at existing projects only because they're happening at weird stages, and this is applied to unincorporated communities throughout the county. But in the future, projects like a levee, a horizontal levee, especially that has multi-benefits, would be something that a district could take on and could be a real tool for partnering with industry and community members and making sure that everyone's kind of fairly represented there. So I think it could be a real tool for approaching bigger infrastructure projects like that. But I'm not sure about. I'll let John take it away if you know more about that project in particular.
Yeah, I mean, I can't add too much to it. I just started participating in the coalition recently, and the coalition is led by the West County Wastewater District. East Bakersfield Park District is at the table too, because of their properties. Obviously, John Joyous' office is involved, and there's some couple of property owners as well beyond them. And in terms of like a governance structure, perhaps indeed, that would be a factor of the major property owners that could be on the board of a CH2 RD for North Richmond. But that does not, given that we want to have local governance as in a representation of the diversity of North Richmond, probably that would not be sufficient, as part of the structure. So having nonprofits perhaps a part of the board too, that are training people to do O&M, operations and maintenance of GI features, of rainwater gardens, of street trees, of trails, of what have you, which is going on with Urban Tilth in order to, is another venue for.
Okay, thanks so much, John and Sadie. I see Valerie Jameson of Richmond Land has raised her hand. Valerie.
Yeah, hi, Sadie. Thanks for the presentation. This question might be for John, but I know since you mentioned, Sadie, the Biden administration's infrastructure funds that are coming through, and that may weigh on the county in terms of the urgency or the trade-offs in the structure of the models that you're studying. I mean, what's like the usual length of time it would take to initiate this type of project? Because I'm sure the planning in and of itself can take quite a while. So if you can offer a range of what you've seen successfully implemented.
Yeah, that's a great point. That is something that's a core part of why this study has different options, because some options take less time than others. And so options at the county level that are, have been used before would be quicker to implement. And there's a big question of, you could, for formal special districts, you can have a special act and an enabling, or the enabling act can be a special act or an act that's already, in law. And so some things take political will, and they can be quick if you have everyone on the same page. And other things, you don't need the political will as much at a broader scale, but you need, you need the administrative time and resources. And so those resources, with fund, if you have the funding and the technical ability, it can really, 1 to 2 years is probably a good middle range for how long it takes to establish a lot of special districts. And then there are some part of what I'm trying to kind of use this phased approach, because there's some ways to kind of have an interim district that kind of sets up some formalities while you're still working towards creating that formal district. So that's a great thing to keep in mind. Thanks for that.
Thank you, Sadie. I see David has his hand up. David.
Yes, I'm a board director on the West County Wastewater Board. So I would encourage you to send the question that you had before, Robert, to me. I put my email on the chat, and I will get those answers for you directly from staff.
That's great. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
Yeah, because I remember way back at the beginning of the North Watershed Connections project, I talked to one of your other colleagues to engage the wastewater district as far as providing potential water with a truck for the trees, and then even the conversation around, well, creating some sort of special district is very much in the wastewater district's interests, as well as those of other property owners, that could be a source of funds through governance for that, for really bringing money to North Richmond for O&M purposes.
Yeah, and I think that's an admirable thing, and we should definitely explore it. That's why I would want Robert to send that question to me via email, and I'll forward it to staff. And in a future meeting, I could also have a staff member that's up to date on this issue and subject to come and speak to us.
And actually, I think it really makes sense to integrate what she's doing with the grant that was given to the SFEP for the conceptual planning or conceptual design of the horizontal levee. because that just like as with North Richmond Watershed Connection, it's a matter of looking at once we build something, how do we maintain it?
Right. I agree. And I thank you and Sadie for the presentation. It was great.
Okay, thank you very much. Any other questions or feedback on this topic item? Okay, hearing none, we've come to the end of our agenda. There is space and time for anyone, public comment or any comments for the good of the order. Before we get into that, I do want to point out that there is an important public health message involving our North Richmond Missionary Baptist Church. And I want to bring Mylan Sanders on to be able to talk a little bit more about that.
Thank you, Robert.
You're
Hi,
welcome.
everyone. Thank you for having me here this evening. My name is Milan Sanders, and I am one of 3 of the project coordinators for the COVID-19 Ambassador Program with Contra Costa County Health Services, and I am responsible for the West County region. And Thursday, we'll be having a mobile vaccination clinic at North Richmond Missionary Baptist Church. And I just want to take this time to get people to sign up. I'll go ahead and post the link in the chat. We're in desperate need of signups. We spent all day today canvassing throughout the neighborhood. Didn't get as many signups as we would like, but we did get some. So I'm just gonna drop the link here in the chat so that way you guys can pass it on to anyone that you think may be interested.
Thanks so much, Milan. That's really important. Richmond Missionary Baptist Church is bringing vaccinations directly into our community with the support and partnership of County Health. Thanks for that link, Milan. Is there anything else on this? Just to repeat, it was Thursday, right? From 10 a.m.
Yes, it is Thursday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Though the website, you could schedule an appointment, we will at this point be accepting walk-ins just because of the low numbers that we have currently. And if you guys have any more questions or, would like to partner with me for any type of future endeavors or collaborations, I'll be more than happy to. I'll go ahead and also provide my email.
Thank you, Milan. This is the place to share this kind of info. Everyone here is a big leader in this community. So, whether it's Annie or Eleanor or Leticia or Bev, we all know a lot of people in the community. Cynthia, let's reach one by teaching one and let them know that this is available at Missionary Baptist on Thursday. Thanks again, Milan. Any other public comment or questions?
I have a question. This is Berta.
I see Berta and then Cynthia. Go ahead, Berta.
Okay, yes, I passed the information for the vaccine for this coming Thursdays, and there is 2 persons that applied, but they didn't do it the right way, and so they put Alameda instead of Contra Costa County. So they got the appointment for in Oakland for this coming Thursday. Is there any possibility that they can cancel over there and apply for the one here at the Fred Jackson Way?
Yes, definitely. They can go ahead and cancel that appointment, whether it be online or just calling and canceling. Usually they'll send a confirmation email so that way they could cancel if needed, and then just direct them to the link that I put in the chat, and they can go ahead and sign up.
Okay, and also what I was going to ask, they can do the reservation for here and later cancel the other one, or they have to cancel first?
No, they could do it right now if they would like.
Okay, all right.
And though we don't advise it, they could always be like a no-show to their appointment in Alameda County, as long as they have and come to their scheduled appointment here in Contra Costa County.
Okay, but if they decide to go over there, they will get the vaccine even if the county is another county?
Yes, so we're not turning people away. We've even This is about my third clinic that I've worked with, and we've had people come from Alameda County to get their vaccines. We've had people come from as far as past Sacramento to come and get a vaccine here in Contra Costa County.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Berta. Thank you, Milan. Cynthia Jordan.
So, for Bertha, Milan, didn't you just say that North Richmond was gonna accept walk-ins?
Yes, we will also be accepting walk-ins. Now, I can't tell you how many that is. That's all dependent upon, how many people signed up and how many we have left over. But there's so many appointments available.
Right.
They can make an appointment.
Yes, well, I think Bertha should be aware of that. My question was to Robert is, what happened to the mayor supposed to come and talk to us about proposing a homeless encampment over there on Castro?
Thank you, Cynthia. He did ask, and Chair Gilmore directed me to put him on to next month's agenda.
Okay, second question. What is the status for the appeal for the marijuana growth? When is that appeal date? When does it go before the supervisors?
I'm sorry, I don't know the answer to that, but Don Gilmore does.
Okay, because MAC members should be made aware of it, I guess. I don't know.
Yes, I made you aware of the appeal process, and then Don, as the leader of the MAC, took it away. As you know, myself and Supervisor Joya cannot intervene in the appeals process further.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so I just hope Don is well prepared, because I have been following up on the marijuana growth proposed out here in Brentwood, and then I went online and I looked at a lot of information about marijuana growth. There's a lot of pros and cons pertaining to that, but I know for a fact that the Board of Supervisors is for marijuana growth. So I don't know what type of chance we stand. That's all that I had to put that in there.
Thank you very much, Cynthia. Any other public comments?
Yes, Robert, I do. Oh, but you had 3 hands that are still up.
I think that Leticia, oh wait.
And so, David and Bertha, you had 3. David has been waiting quite some time, and then
I believe David already asked his question.
Yes, correct. My question was asked and answered. Thank you.
Leticia, thank you. Leticia, do you have a question?
Yes, I'm actually mine. It's about the encampment, the classroom encampment, and I'm just wondering how that's gonna work, because what I seen that side was put there without any input from the North Richmond residents, and I believe with no basic services, and I wonder if there is any way to request the service that site needs, and to address, and manage and control that site, and to address the issues of people living there. And I gotta say it, I'm not against helping the houses people to have a place to stay, but I'm a little concerned about our neighborhood, the North Richmond neighborhood, that really disadvantaged neighborhood. It's been seen like, or what I've been observed during the City of Richmond council meetings, is like I see this little ball, going from one neighborhood, like from Hilltop to Civic Center, and I see the ball coming to us, and they're pointing at us, and it's a really disadvantaged neighborhood, and with being more, it's like segregation to me. Sometimes I feel like that, and I like I said, I'm not opposed to help them, to help the houses people, or to find a way, but I don't think that we really can like take a massive site here. I hear one proposition was one well, how is this called? Somebody was and it was Bates' idea to put a site on a place that is next to the Ace Park and behind the Birdie School. I mean, how is that can be possible? And then I hear on the last meeting that Mayor Tom said that Don had told him that there was no a position here about the encampment. I mean, and I was wondering who he asked to that I mean, they didn't see it. I mean, I don't see like it's a really big opposition, but like I just feel like we are the disadvantaged neighborhood and we are gonna just get it. I mean, a big one. I mean, I know, and I said that we're doing what one that we have. They need to put the services on that side. They were offering $250,000 just for security at Hilltop, and it's what's not taken. In the one that they have here, they don't even have the, the trash or nothing, services there. So I just want to throw that out and
Thank
see
you,
how, I
Leticia.
mean, what do you think?
Right.
Thank you. Supervisor Joya does not favor a homeless encampment structure in North Richmond. Mayor Butt is going to come to the MAC meeting next month to share his ideas, and I encourage you to attend and share your ideas.
Robert.
And I think Annie King Meredith has a question.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I do. Robert, as we, this is off that, this is not speaking of the homeless piece, that's right now, that can keep going on and on. But my question is, what happened? I see that we had a presentation and we've been trying to get a presentation for the county service integration for here in North Richmond. And I was just wondering, I know you said that she wasn't here present at this meeting. So since she didn't make it this time, could you move her again for our next meeting?
Yes.
For the availability. So because that's one of the things that we do want to know what's going on at this point with service integration. And that's one of the things Dr. Clark has been asking for. And I just want to reiterate that to move her for our next meeting.
Yes, thank you. Following Dr. Clark's request,
yes,
I conversed with Christina and we planned for her to be here, but something must have come up that made her unable to make it, and I'm sure she'll be able to come in the future.
Right. I just want to hold a spot open for our next meeting.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
Did Cynthia Jordan have something?
Yes, I just want to follow up on Leticia about the city of Richmond proposing to put the homeless encampment on Castro. And it's just like, first they said Hilltop, a lot of space up there. Then they say they're gonna put it down there by the old Richmond City Hall on Barrett and that big parking lot thing. And then they say, with a possible maybe North Richmond. But it seemed like their bottom line is they're thinking North Richmond all along. Just want to make everybody that's listening aware of how they do North Richmond. He got that in mind all along, but he's playing these games about, we're going to put it on Hilltop. We're going to put it by City Hall. Doggone well, they're going to put no homeless encampment by City Hall. Just a bunch of bull. I'm talking like Henry now. He's not here. But just a bunch of bull, okay? But, the bottom line is, we can always dump stuff in North Richmond. So just want everybody to be aware of what's going on behind closed doors.
Can I say something
Thank you.
about
Yes,
Marina? Okay, because Tom Butts called me, and so I have talked to the North Richmond MAC chair. That's why we had decided to have Mr. Butts present at the MAC meeting in May. So that way we would come as a one body. So we have one voice, because just like Cynthia just mentioned, North Richmond is considered the underserved, the underprivileged, and under-resourced, and that means you could do anything you want to do. But at the same time, that is not the case, and we're not going to allow it. And we want something in writing if that is something that the community agrees to, so we could hold people accountable in case we have to take our elected officials to court. We have something to back us up, because we always get stuck and dumped on. There's so much debris in North Richmond right now, and we have a mitigation program, and there's trash is not being addressed. So what are we going to do with the bodies? So we have to look at creating a solid plan, and there's funding so they can create housing. And I know CHDC is going to develop Legacy Court in that area on Castro and Vernon, and we did discuss developing a couple of the units for the homeless. So we'll see what happens with that, because we can't we can't close the door to what's happening. Homeless is right at our doorstep. Anywhere you go, if you're on the freeway, you see it. It is in our communities, and you don't want to see these people suffer, because I see these are women down here on Castro. I know I see them, and you do want them to receive stable housing. And so that would be the goal for these people, to receive some stable housing, and they need support and resources. You just can't leave them out there. You have to give them some support. So that's why we said in May, we would get the community together so people can rally and voice what their opinions are about what they want to do with the plan and placing the homeless in our areas. Because Annie and I see them all the time walking up Fred Jackson Way and Willard. You just see them.
Thank
But
you
I
so
just wanted
much.
to say that.
Thank you so much, Marina. That was very eloquent.
Yes,
And your leadership is much appreciated.
absolutely.
We look forward to seeing you at the May MAC meeting so that the community's voice can be heard.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Do we have any other questions or feedback?
I
Eleanor
have a
Thompson?
question. Not really a question. I know that I was either listening to the council meeting not too long ago, and I believe Tom Butt said that Marina and Dunn was very much for the Castro non-homeless program. And Johnson said, I know that's not true, because when he talked with them, they were totally against it. But as far as the cleanup in North Richmond with the mitigation, my proposal was to clean up throughout North Richmond. But the county, they changed it, whereas we have to clean up sites that they appoint for us, and those sites are always the housing authority properties. So that's how we're cleaning up housing authority properties. And we're not cleaning up the streets of North Richmond, because they assigned us where they want us to clean up at.
Okay,
And I just wanted to say that.
Thank you, Eleanor.
Okay.
Is there any other public comment?
I just have one comment. It's two things I want to comment on. Thank you, our president for the North Richmond Neighborhood Council, Marina, for elegantly putting that out to bring that, to force. To Eleanor, as far as the cleanup, that's one of the things that I will be addressing as far as the cleanup for our mitigation that will be taking place in May. So I thank you for that, because it is a lot of questions of who doing what and who's assigned to what in order to have the mobility to do, and what it needs to take to clean up the community, and what is being done in order to stop all this dumping. So that will be addressed. And I just thank you for doing what you've been doing over the past, months. And it is a pandemic, and a lot of things was on hold, but people are still dumping. But we have to put that in a stop, because that's going on too long. So I just want to address that, and thank you. And that's my comment.
And I wanted to say just one thing, Annie. Janie has been telling myself and Pam group that we're probably no longer going to be cleaning up, because the housing authority is not going to have the houses anymore, so they won't need us to clean up. But our contract is not with the housing authority, really with the county and for Richmond, for the North Richmond community. So
that's right, absolutely. So we can talk later. You can call me and talk to me more about this.
Okay.
I just want, put my 2 cents in that.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you both. Is there any other public comment or questions? Well, hearing none, I think we've come to the conclusion of another successful MAC meeting. Thank you all for joining us on this good Tuesday night. And thanks especially to Bev Scott, Annie King Meredith, our MAC members, and also to Cynthia Jordan for always providing great note-taking and minute-taking services. And of course, thanks to everybody else who presented and our community members. With that, I think that we'll sign off.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Bye.